Alright,
Yes.
I'm gonna count down.
Let's go.
3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so this is Flintstones 2. It looks very familiar to the first Flintstones game, which we saw Slice run earlier. There's a little bit of difference in the tech. The levels are all different. I'll talk a little bit about what's important. There's a lot of items that I'm going to pick up along the way that are going to help out. Just like in the first game, you have a HUD at the bottom that you can expand by pickups that give you increased strength of your club, increased or decreased cooldown for your sub-weapons if you pick up any sub-weapons, and also more health throughout the game. So in the first few stages we're going to try to max those out and do our very best not to die, because dying has the huge penalty in this game of making you lose pretty much all of that. Most of these bosses, pretty much the only way to do them fast is to have the highest level of everything, so we're going to do our very best not to lose any. Alright, so this is our first boss slash mini-boss in the game, and it's kind of a joke. You're supposed to fight with it in this ring and break the blocks on the outside to knock it out, but where it spawns, if you just hit it twice, you can pretty much get it to fall out of its own accord, so that's pretty convenient. That's supposed to be a much harder fight. If you play this game blind, you'll really struggle with that fight. So I'm now at maximum club power already, maximum health, and I'm almost at my minimum cooldown for my sub-weapon. So for anyone who's not familiar with this game, the premise is that your children, Bam Bam and, what is it? What's the other one?
I don't know.
I can't remember her name. Anyway, your two children are on the opposite side of a volcano that has erupted, and you can't get to them anymore. Ooh, nice death. They're on the opposite side of a volcano that erupted, and since the Flintstones don't really operate in 3D properly, they go all the way around the island in order to get to their kids, rather than just swimming through the water.
I think it's Pebbles.
Yes, that's right. That shouldn't have been a complicated name to remember.
And this game is ridiculously expensive.
Very expensive.
Was it a Blockbuster only, or?
I believe that's the story, is it was only released for Blockbuster, and so the only copies in our existence are ones that came from a Blockbuster.
I heard it also.
Alright, so that was a really unfortunate jump I had there earlier. The biggest problem with it is I lost my sub-weapon for dying. If I don't completely get screwed over here, I should be able to get my sub-weapon back in this little minecart ride. The rest of it I can fish for throughout the run. Oh, got it. Nice.
And this was released late, 92, 93 or something?
So this is another case of a boss that you can kind of cheese out. You're supposed to have these rocks that fall from the sky, you're supposed to hit them at him, but there's like a 2-pixel window where you can stand close enough to him where his club doesn't hit you, and you can actually hit him, which you're not supposed to be able to do.
Oh, that's neat.
I say it's like a 2-pixel window. It's quite generous. You can find it accidentally. But it's a fairly small window. You have to almost be overlapping the tip of his club, but it won't hit you, which is nice, because then you can just kill him real fast. This is Surf City. Welcome. This is one of the 2 auto-scrollers that Slice was mentioning in his run that are in Flintstones 2. There's this one, and then later we're going to be riding on a Pteranodon. And it's supposed to be really tough because rocks are flying at you, but we're just going to, like, sit in the corner and nothing's going to hit us. Every time I run this game, someone asks me, so I'm just going to go ahead and answer preemptively. The Yabba Dabba Doo at the bottom of the screen, if you collect stars throughout the run, you can fill in those letters, and they'll give you an extra life if you fill it all in. So the story of this world record is Rafioska held it for quite a long time, and I picked up this game because why not? And my time was actually pretty far from Rafioska's because he does a lot of the boss fights very well, a lot better than I did at the time. But apparently there was a skip, not like a glitch or anything, but an actual just different route you could take through one of the levels that he wasn't aware of that cut off like 40 seconds. So.
Well,
I almost felt bad taking it, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do.
yeah.
Let's be honest, free world record.
Well, he could take it back.
Oh yeah, at the time he could have easily taken it back, and I still think to some extent, at least at his peak, he did a lot of these fights way better than I do. But I think I'm a little more warmed up these days.
That record was like a year ago. I think I saw him play this game like a year ago. Something.
Yeah, he had this record for, I want to say maybe like 6 or 8 months before I took it.
Yeah.
That fight did not go well. This guy works with Dr. Dean. Yeah, he does. Shit, people know me in real life. Go away. You're blowing my cover. So this is a pretty annoying stage because whoever was in charge of designing the water mechanics, I think took a vacation during the game design phase, because they're very bad. He runs through the water and more just kind of floats his way across from place to place, and you're not very much in control of it. When things happen, you pretty much just accept it. Okay, let's play this safe. I have an embarrassingly low amount of health. Alright, this is another one of those bosses that anyone who has played this for the first time, this boss gives you a lot of trouble. Because his pattern is very, it's hard to read off of him. He sits still for a long time and indicates to you that you should go in for the kill, and then there's really not a great way to read off of. Okay, I missed all of the first cycle. That's great.
I just noticed something. That spider is in the Jetson game also. Exactly the same.
The same spider.
Yeah, the same spider and shoots the same webs. What the hell?
That's awesome.
It's exactly the same spider. Well, not the sprite, but it's the same thing, and he shoots four of these webs, and you have to avoid it. What the hell? First time I noticed that.
Well, I think that makes this a free world record for you, right? Being the former world record holder for Jetsons, you're pretty well attuned to this game now.
Yeah.
These ghosts.
Oh, this is the ghost from Bugs Bunny's birthday. Oh,
a second so the ghosts turn around. And now I'm gonna miss the door. Oh, just barely. Alright. So coming up is the skip that Rafioska didn't know about. There's about 30 seconds to 45 seconds of stage that I skipped by just falling down that pit there. That pit really gives you no reason to believe that you should be able to fall down there, but lo and behold. One of the things I like about this Flintstones game over the first Flintstones game for the NES is there's a little bit of tech you can use to speed the game up. If you grab ledges in the right way, he climbs up them immediately rather than having to hang there for a second like he does in the first game. And it's kind of nice because there's a few parts where the timing gets really tight. Having to climb in these like miniature auto-scrollers in some of the more difficult stages, and the fact that the game gives you a way to climb a lot faster, you kind of circumvent all of that danger. Alright, so this is the Pteranodon auto-scroller. It's supposed to be pretty difficult. There's a ton of rocks that are getting thrown here, and you have very little life. But if you sit up in this corner, on average, only 2 or 3 things will hit you. Because it's a very specific angle that the rock has to fire at in order to actually hit you here. So, this is often the time that I'll respond to chat when I'm playing this game. I can type, check my email.
Dinner.
Yeah. Go grab a drink from the fridge. Sick auto-scroller, bro.
So how long have you been running this game?
I did most of my runs over the summer, so the majority of my runs, I got the world record in like June or July maybe of this year. So I've been running since then. I've picked it back up 1 or 2 times trying to improve the world record. It's funny, I'm sure other people who have run games have done this. It's weird that you'll look at a video of your run and you'll be like, man, I made 1,000 mistakes. But actually when you go against those splits, it's just untouchable.
Yeah.
Nice stuff.
That's like ever speedrun. You're never gonna be happy with a run.
Yeah.
Never.
I guess that's just kind of the way it is.
Yeah. There's always something to improve.
So if I still had my bowling ball, this fight would be a lot easier. But because I took a really silly death earlier, I do not have it anymore. Kind of the problem with deaths in this game is that when you die, you lose all of your buffer health, so actually keeping up with the run is kind of tough if you don't have your 5 hearts all the time. Alright.
Phew.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. There's no excuse to ever use ranged attacks against that boss, but I'm not going to stand in his face and take my last hit.
So do we have that skip coming up in this stage?
Yeah, this is where the donut skip is. I'd feel a lot more
Yeah.
comfortable doing it if I had more than 0 lives.
Oh.
But we'll see. I might be able to find a few hearts in this stage and get an extra life. That's a little bit of a sequence break there. You're not supposed to be able to make that jump. I guess in hindsight, attempting that jump was silly. Well, most runs, what I would do is I would take the bowling ball into the final boss, because the bowling ball is actually a pretty strong weapon. But what I'm gonna do here is when I get to the final boss, right before, there's a lunchbox I can take, which is a sub-weapon that you can use at any time to give you a full health refill. So I'm gonna use that as my marathon strat. So this is one of the places where the climbing tech comes into handy. Climbing up these ledges and trying to survive this little mini auto-scroller is really obnoxious, except for if you can climb really fast, in which... Alright, that's not a big deal. At least now I have lives again.
Yep. Probably. Oh, he is starting the whole stage. So, oh.
Yeah, but it's like a 45-second stage. Yeah. This is one of those. This is one of those rough stages. The problem with the donut is that it moves so fast, and there's very few reset points it has. So if you like fall off one block somewhere or something like that, you've already just signed it yourself. Like you're out. So coming to this stage without like 3 lives is stressful. I've tried about 100 different ways to figure out a way to skip those platforms the way they're laid out. There's just no way to do it. If you ever try to shortcut those platforms, you will fall on the spikes. At that point, what's the point? Well, one thing you can say for certain is that this game has very good pacing, because the game starts out very casual and ends up with this train wreck of a stage. Alright, so since I have some extra lives, I'm definitely going to go for the donut skip. If not to save face and make up some time, just to kind of show off that there's some interesting tech in this game. Oh, also, this is another one of those cases where the climbing tech really helps out, because this wheel not only chases you up here, but once you get to the top, you have to fall down and break some blocks to get out of the way of the wheel, and there's almost no time to do that if you don't climb faster than you're technically supposed to. So this is the donut skip right here. Kind of a nightmare to do in real time. And I did it. Oh! And I missed the little hop.
Oh.
I know.
That was so good.
Well, what's supposed to happen is the donut goes around this big ring and ends up falling into place right in the lava right there, and then you're supposed to break the blocks yourself. And you can actually break them with Barney's slingshot, but the problem is that if you fire his slingshot just a moment too late, the slingshot animation actually prevents him from being able to grab onto the rope again. So the trick is doubly difficult. First you have to get out of the way of the wheel successfully, and then after that you have to break the blocks without dying in the process. And I think that breaking the blocks in the without dying is actually the harder part of the trick, because getting out of the way of the wheel has its problems, but it's not that bad. There. Alright. So we end this. We're going on to the boss.
Nice.
So this guy's going to take a few more cycles than I would like, because I do not have a strong enough weapon. Oh, actually I take that back. Took exactly the number of cycles I would have expected. This boss actually has something, This boss actually has something very similar to the way Flintstones 1 worked, where this boss, when he brings his head down, there's like a 1 or 2 pixel space on the ground that you can stand where you won't get hit by either his head or the fire. But finding that spot's actually different each time because it depends on where he's moved in the stage, so it's not actually the same spot each time. But that's Flintstones 2.
Flintstones 2, good game. Good game. Nice commentary there. Loved it.
Thank you.
Loved it.